welcome to the March 7th edition of the Zooch and Wilde podcast. I'm Tony Gonzalez, but no, welcome to the March 7th version of the Zooch and Wilde podcast. Just got back from Boise last week or this week. Zooch, it was great to see you up there. But yeah, it was fun. And it was good weather in Boise this
It
weekend.
was. It's starting to cool off again now. We had the fake spring that comes but once a year where you get all excited and then put some shorts on maybe, and then the next few days you go outside and you're like, all right, well, it's back to frost on my window. So
Oh yeah, no, I remember that when I was living in Boise. The fake spring every year will get you, and that's what like everyone I was staying with was saying. But it was good to see a lot of the Boise guys last weekend. But we are back because the college football and the sports cycle never ends. We got a great show. We're going to talk about some bracketology breakdown. Actually, finally getting in. It's starting to become that time of year, Zooch. It's March.
yeah,
John Ross, this is March.
a week from usually it's about Wednesday of. So like next
Yep.
Wednesday, I think, is when not that the other conference tournaments don't matter, they do, and you get some like random winners in those. But starting this weekend or so, it'll be heavy into the conference tournaments, and that's when that's when you're sitting on pins and needles if you're in that
Bubble
last
teams,
four
no.
in, last four
You're right.
buys, whatever it is, first
It's
four
interesting.
out.
Yeah. And before we get into this bracketology, Zooch, I have amazing news for our listeners. Not only just our listeners, but for all listeners across Settle Down. We are doing again for the second year in a row the Settle Down Bracket Challenge. And we are going to give away $100. You heard me. That's 100. In this economy with the tariffs, that's going to come in handy. And guess what? Guess what, Zooch? It is free to sign up. This is free. I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 doing the Settle Down Bracket Challenge. Number one, you're going to follow Settle Down Media on Instagram. The actual Instagram account, follow Settle Down Media on Instagram. If you've already following the account, you already have step one complete. Step two, when the tournament opens up, we will have a ESPN Tournament Challenge bracket group. It's going to be anyone can join. You are going to join that group, make your picks, and you will be in the group with all of us, all of you guys from the other Settle Down, Takeover Sports, Good Old Hockey Podcast. They'll all be in there. The third thing, after you join our ESPN Tournament Challenge group, you are going to fill out a Google form, a separate Google form that will be in our bio posted, and this will allow us to contact you if you win. It'll ask you some questions like your ESPN Tournament Challenge username, which is key. So we know who's ranking, and your email. It will ask you for your email so we can contact you if we won. Last year, we had a guy who none of us had ever met before. He was like this kid, and he just was listening to some of the podcasts, and I think he was mainly just watching our clips, but he signed up and he won, and it was awesome. But Zooch, we're giving away $100 again. I cannot be more excited about this.
We will, and also this is going to be my little thing that I add. Since the majority of the people from Settle Down will be in Vegas for that opening weekend of the tournament, if you have your picks in, have them in Wednesday night, actually. That's after the last first four games, a 16 win doesn't matter. So if you're like really caught up on who wins the Indiana, Arkansas first four game, it's like, oh, you're one of those guys. Like, well, if Indiana wins, I'm picking them to beat whoever the 6th seed is that they'll play. That's fine. But I'm going to do a random drawing of one of the people who is in it, not a Settle Down member, none of that, just a random person who's a follower or whatever. And I'm going to take $50 before those games start. I think they'll start about 9 or so Pacific time. You're more in tune with Pacific time than I am, but I want to say about like 9:11 will be when the
it usually starts at 9 on Pacific time in Vegas.
Perfect. I'll take $50 and I'll play you a hand of blackjack. My own money. If you win, you get an extra $50. If you lose, you don't lose anything. I'm
This is
still trying to
epic.
figure out how to do the drawing. I'm thinking that since some of the boys will be over Wednesday night, what I'll do is just write down all the names of the people who are in, throw them in a hat, and like when we get to the airport or something that morning, just pick a name out of the hat.
Yeah, or
If
do
you
like a
get
number
it,
random, like a random number generator. And wow, folks,
yeah,
that is like, and we had like I think we were thanking you guys for like a month after we did this last year because we had a great turnout. But wow, that is, and you don't even have to win to get that. That is just a drawing for signing up. So to reiterate,
and also
follow.
if I can get in contact with you, if we can get in contact with you, if you want to message like our main account on Settle Down or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be blackjack. I'll do roulette for you. It would be kind of hard to do. It needs to be a game like that, like one that
Yeah,
you
could say,
you
hey, I
know.
want $50 like on black.
Yep. So roulette, blackjack. It's kind of hard to do that on craps or anything like that. But yeah, if you want it on roulette or blackjack, just message the account. We'll be down there. We'll take a video of me putting that money down there for you, and
Yep, that
you
is.
could come out of this with $200 if you
If you win the
win the whole
drawing
thing.
and yeah, you win you could win the random drawing and win the tournament. Wow, that is awesome news. So to reiterate, to sum it up, number one, follow Settle Down on Instagram. Number two, when the Tournament Challenge app goes live, join Settle Down's Tournament Challenge group and make your picks. Number three, this is the most crucial step. Fill out the separate Google form that will be posted soon in the coming weeks. Fill that out with your email and your ESPN username and information that we can contact you if we win. Number four, wait and have fun. Zooch is doing that random drawing just for signing up. And of course, the winner, if you win, will get $100 Venmo. If you live in Boise, I can do cash too, but it'll probably be a Venmo or money transfer or something. But we are just so stoked. More information will be coming soon. We'll get a graphic. Tell your friends, tell your family. It is free to sign up, and you have the chance to win money, Zooch. Who doesn't like that?
Everyone should like it. Like I said, it costs you nothing but 10 or 15 minutes to fill out your bracket. You don't even have to be someone who looks at all the matchups super closely because I feel like those people never win. Me being
Nope.
one of them that does all that, and then I'm like, oh sweet, we're at 305 on Thursday, and 3 teams I picked in the Elite Eight are already out. So that's
Well,
just
and you already know maybe, and there'll be more jokes coming as we get closer to the big settle down bachelor extravaganza. But let's just say there may be a certain member of the settle down media who has the balls to pick every single upset. Not.
there's a member who might have the top 8 seeds in that order as their Elite Eight, and then there is a member who will have a 13, a 14, a 15, and a 16 in their Elite Eight, and will say Cooper Flagg is not that good after watching him for maybe the first time he watches him will be that Thursday game that took place.
Yes.
Not
Oh my
naming
God.
names though.
No, not naming names at all. But let's finally break down this bracketology, man. I'm super excited for this. So this is the bracketology from Joe Lenardi at the time of this recording, so March 5th. And I'm gonna pull it up here for you guys. Can you guys see this? Give me one sec. Zooch, I'm gonna add you. I'm gonna
And
present.
for all
Let
the
me see.
Lenardi haters, this is basically the teams who have a real shot at being like there'll be the upsets and stuff, but
Yeah.
everyone pretty much has the same teams around the bubble. So don't freak out on us and say he sucks at bracketology. We don't.
Yeah, he's
It's
not.
the easiest to pull his up. So
It is the easiest to pull his up. And I just want to see, Zooch, I want to get your opinions on, obviously, I don't know if you can see that, Zooch, but the last team
yep.
in is our Boise State Broncos. The first team out is Oklahoma. I kind of want to talk to you, maybe not just about those teams, but what are some bubble teams? It can be Boise State and it could be Oklahoma, but do you have a bubble team to like watch out for in the tournament? What is that team for you? That's kind of like maybe or maybe not will make it.
Honestly, my biggest one out of all those teams, but all those teams, all those like kind of bubble-ish teams is probably Indiana. They like
Really?
yeah. So let me look exactly. Pull this up. I had it up and then I accidentally clicked it off. So like if you go to different like uh mock drafts and stuff like that, which it's also crazy looking at mock drafts that Rutgers has two of the top three, and like I don't even think they're close.
No, they're not. This is like the most disappointing Rutgers season like ever, I think, for basketball. Like they had that one kid who they paid a bunch of money to. Oh my gosh, I forget his name because Rutgers has just been irrelevant. But I do know Rutgers has been failing epically this year.
That's, that is that seems to be the Rutgers way. Maybe I was on a really old one, but I swear I saw that they had some like pretty good uh draft select. Like they had a couple guys who were, of course, I didn't have pulled up. Anyway, Indiana's my team. I know I look like a complete and total moron right now, but
I have a funny
in,
scenario about Indiana. I'm sorry. I have a funny scenario. What if
well,
they go on a run and then Mike Woodson goes, I don't know, I'm actually kind of feeling better. Maybe I will come back.
well, that's always the issue that you like. Specifically, I would get if Indiana was like had 7 wins at that time. They were in the middle of a bad losing streak, so I get wanting to go a different direction. He's been disappointing there. But you could wait till the end of the season to announce all that kind of stuff, like until you're out and be like, all right, he's done. But now you're in that scenario to where, I mean, they haven't been like they had. Give me 1 second. Because they were in the middle of that bad streak. It was bad. I think they lost like 8 of 10 or something like that. And they're not, they're 9 and 10 in the Big Ten, which is not terrible. Like 18 and 12, 9 and 10 in the Big Ten. So worst case, they play Ohio State next. But yeah, they had lost one. They had lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They were 2 and 8 in a 10-game stretch, and a 10-game stretch. But I mean, and some of them were bad losses. I'll say that, but they had a 3-point loss in there, a 4-point loss in there, a 1-point loss, 5 points, a few blowouts. So they're an interesting one because like they were at one point like in the top 10, right?
They were
I
at like the beginning ish of the year, but they just went on a spell of just losing, and then you saw, oh my gosh, who is the coach? Who's the coach at Iowa State? I think they started getting enamored with him going to Indiana,
and he used to
but
be at UNLV. I cannot think of his name. It'll
no,
come
but
to me.
no, but you know the guy I'm thinking of. And Indiana is an interesting school. You know, the blue bloods in basketball, it truly is. Like everyone jokes about like, oh, the blue bloods in football. Like basketball, I think like in football, I do like seeing like the little guy and like the weird teams kind of go on their runs. The teams like Miami's disrupting, the Oregon's disrupting, Boise State's disrupting. Basketball to me, like it truly is better when just like the classic teams are doing well. And yes, I love
There's
upsets. I love
there was
upsets like nothing like Nova, North Carolina, or like
well like even a
Kentucky,
couple
UCLA. Like it's just cinema.
even I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago now. That Coach K was in his last season, and Duke played North Carolina in the Final Four. Like you don't, yeah, it's cool, and like FAU and San Diego State are in the Final Four too. But I'm sorry, it's not cooler than a Duke
No.
UNC Final
Can
Four.
I
Like you don't get
can I
bigger than that.
Can I tell you my perfect Final Four like building? You
But
have
like,
you have one Cinderella, you have one like really good team that's played like really really well this year that only like true college basketball heads know, but is not like a powerhouse. So I'm talking like this is a great example here at number 2, like an Iowa State. So like you have a Cinderella, you have an Iowa State, and then you just have two blue bloods. Like give me like Kansas and UCLA. Like that's the
yeah,
best five. That's the best version of like a Final Four to me.
and they pan out to where it's in way too big of a because it's in a football arena and you see
Oh,
people.
but it's in a great one this year.
Where's
The
is it?
Alamo Dome.
Oh, okay.
San Antonio, great basketball, big arena. But you know what? The team that stood out to me, Zooch, and it's not a bubble team. And I want the country to know this. If anything gets clipped from this show, I want to put the country on, Zooch. Where are they? Right here. UC San Diego, Zooch. They're winning. No, I'm not even joking.
I looked them up the other day. They're like 28-1, aren't they?
They've only lost 2 games all year. They are an 11 seed for a Big West school. Usually Big West is a 12, 13, 14 school. UC San Diego's killing teams. Now, the issue is they're going to have to be an automatic qualifier. That's why technically I use a liberty in naming them a bubble team. But Zooch, over 75% of their roster shoots over 31% on threes.
There you go.
I want you.
Do not let Cody Boyson find that out. He will have them in a national title.
Oh, and here's another one, Zooch. They do not have a 7-footer on the team. Do not have a 7. They play like the one white team from like high school that like their center's like 6'5" and like they just shoot you out of the gym. They are literally that team. And I could see this team just America falling in love with. I think they've only been a Division I school for like less than I've been alive, and I'm in my 20s. So it's a relatively like new program, like at the Division I level. I've seen if they can go on a little run, UC San Diego, man, great part of the country, beautiful campus,
and they're a good team to pick to a Sweet 16-ish. Maybe like that's about the maybe Elite 8, but they're a good team to pick because they're like, okay, you know what? They're great at shooting threes. And you just like you ride that for a couple games, and then you're like, all right, this is where I have them lose because there will come the game that the size is really an issue for them, and they at halftime are like they'll hit like the first 3 of the game. And you're like, oh yeah, they're hot again. Here we go. And then by halftime they'll be like 3 of 19 on threes, and you'll be like, all right, well, this is how it ends for them. They're going to go down doing what got them here.
Yes.
So like I love that pick. I love they're not the Gauchos. That's UC Santa Barbara.
Dude, they're the Tritons. Come on, what, you don't know your Big West basketball? That's the Big West right there. The Big West, one of the most underrated conferences, and by underrated I just mean it's just really fun to watch. The quality's not as great, but it's just fun ball to watch, man. LMU's in the Big West. No, LMU's in the WCC now. So
who is the
this is what I love about college basketball. That's probably the first time I've talked about the Big West with someone in 10 months.
Who is the Dirtbags? Because we were in I was in Vegas last year for the Mountain West tournament, and somebody was like had a shirt that said Dirtbags on it, and I was like,
so the Dirtbags is Long Beach State,
okay.
But it's one of those weird ones where Long Beach State, I think they have a different mascot for all their other teams, and the Dirtbags only refers to, I think, like the baseball and softball program.
Okay.
So like that's why. But if you're a Long Beach State fan, like Dirtbags are so much cooler.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of good days.
It's a great nick. There is nothing more funny than conference tournament in Las Vegas where you just have people from the most random schools. And
that's kind of what I wanted to. The last thing I'll say before I talk to you about this is, Zooch, I'm going to be back in on Houston for the 4th year in a row. It's going to be so you're going to have to pry Houston from me. Zach Boyson already said he'd kick my ass in Vegas if he finds out I chose Houston to win it all again. So, well, let's just say we'll see. But yeah, I kind of wanted to, like, the last thing about this bracketology thing is I love this time of year, and like conference tournaments, like all of this, like you said, just like these random groups of people like interacting with each other. It's just incredible. I've never been to a conference championship tournament, so I'm excited to kind of go to Vegas just for the whole March Madness experience. But I kind of want to get your your thoughts of someone who's been probably in like the mecca of conference tournament play, which is Vegas, because there's 3 of them.
Yeah, so it to me is a lot of fun because if you go to a football game, the fans from who you're playing and fans from your school or whatever. That's all you really see. There's no really there's not really tournaments in football, and there are definitely not games in the same location. Like, like the World Cup, if you go to the World Cup, you are like, oh, these people are cheering, like they're from Sweden, or these people are Brits, or these people are Egyptians, whatever it is. It's cool to see this with college basketball because you see real fans, and sometimes I think people get caught up in Twitter or Instagram and are like, oh my god, their fan base sucks, blah blah, and you're like, you meet other fans and you're like, they don't really most of their fans don't really suck. They're especially coming from schools like ours, we kind of go in knowing in we both know Boise State's not winning the national championship in basketball, right? It's more of a that's what's kind of cool to me about the NCAA tournament is you have that hope. You're like, oh, let's hopefully we win today, and then we get excitement again for 48 hours or so, and then somehow if you win that one, you have the 5 days until you play on Thursday again that you're excited for, and you just see like I said, I've been there for the Mountain West tournament, and usually it used to be the Pac-12 was there, the West Coast,
and the Mountain West. All
there. So you I would, you go and sit and play blackjack or something one morning, and there's Arizona fans sitting next to you, or
you've
Cal
talked about
fans,
the Arizona bros violently vaping.
Yes, and you just you start talking to them, and you're like, oh, yeah, they're just I don't know. I kind of look at it as oh, if I had gone to this school, this guy could have been one of my friends, because they're there with guys they went to school with at the school and all that. And you're like, oh, this guy, maybe this guy would have been my friend, or I would have, at least I would have known people like this guy who, knows. Arizona's a little bit different because they have a pretty good basketball history, but you just see people and you're like, oh, that's cool. I met some good friends that went to San Diego State at that tournament. I just saw them at we were playing them in the Mountain West tournament one year, and I saw them and they all had the same shirt on. And I always kind of thought San Diego State student section was funny. I thought the stuff they said was funny. And the fact that they were usually so much better than everyone else, had consistent success, really. I just found that funny. And they ended up coming to some Boise State games and went downtown with them, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you get to meet people from different schools who have similar interests to you, and you realize, oh, it's not the 60-year-old man on Twitter who
that you're beefing with, or
you two tweets in, you're like, why am I even doing this?
No, that's why I like it too. And college basketball, it's especially in our conference, my home conference, the Mountain West, it is football takes such a higher priority in a lot of these conferences, where basketball, like you said, it just feels a little more communal. We're just hey, we're just here, and we're having a good time, and a lot of the good teams, you can kind of tell where you are in terms of making the tournament before your conference tournament. So you can go into it being man, we only need to win 2 games maybe, and then we're a lock. So you can be a little bit stress free. So that's also what I like about conference tournament weekend. So I'm excited for Vegas, and selfishly, Boise State pulling out of your ass here at the end, man. I want to wear the Peter on the strip. I want to wear the Peter on the strip.
I'm hoping to God. Something tells me we're going to be really sweating next Sunday when they're doing just the horribleness of.
I have a theory where Boise State's going to lose in the conference tournament semifinals really close and play a really good game. That's exactly what's going to happen.
We're going to have, so 2 days of just refreshing bracketology and being oh God, what is the committee? Is the committee going to look at this BPI or whatever 500 different metrics they use to pick someone and not choose? It is a little sketchy with BSU because I thought we were pretty safely in last year, and then we have, I'm sorry, I love BSU, but the reaction video of the team in the Stuckle Sky Center when they're oh, and playing Colorado, Boise State, like the 15 seconds of shock and then like random guy clapping. It was funny. It was annoying. It was annoying that we got kind of done dirty in a way. Like we were still like 11 loss mid major. So I don't personally think we got done that completely dirty. But it's college basketball is just like
It's
the
funny.
whole thing is funny. You see the coaches a lot more, and like you see Bruce Pearl go to like Gatorade Red like 6 minutes into the game. It's just you have like the random like that dude, whoever Oakland last year. I can't.
Yeah, Golke.
Spencer Golke, just
Jack
goes off
Golke.
and like Jack Golke just goes off. So that's what makes it fun. Is like you don't because there's the difference between that's like I guess the last thing I'll say on it is like when someone's good on a mid-major team in football and that mid-major team is ranked, you usually know who like everyone and like it's an extreme case I guess because he was a Heisman contender, but like everyone knows who Ashton Genty is, right? Like they were like, oh, this guy's like really good, that kind of thing. There's so many college basketball schools and there's still not enough TV networks to cover them all. Like you have the 2 or 3 ESPN channels, you got the couple Fox Sports, and you have CBS Sports, and then you have your Fox, CBS. I think ABC puts games on every so often, but a lot of these games are on ESPN Plus, and like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna put on a Oakland versus Michigan Tech game on ESPN Plus. But like the guys become like kind of legends in the tournament that
They
you
do.
don't even know exist until the tournament. So that's what to me makes it fun. A lot of
And they've
people go to there's 68 teams, and that's a lot of thousands of people have gone to all those schools. So, I've seen Harvard, I've met Harvard fans before. But one of the funniest interactions I've ever had in my life was seeing a Harvard fan at a bar doing math on like one of the sketch pads that's like it's like a math pad. What are the math pads called that it's like the graphing paper? He was doing his math in the bar before he went to the game. And I was like, respect, you're doing homework right now. There is no chance I would be doing any homework if BSU was playing. So
Oh
it's
my
a good
goodness,
time.
that's funny. No, we're really excited for college basketball, but got a little bit of college football before we move on to the weekly programming. And it's Zooch. Everyone's canceling their spring game. Texas, USC. There's been a few others that they've just completely canned the spring game. Like they're worried about tampering. I you know what I have to say about it, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I agree with Dabo Sweeney saying it's BS. You canceling your spring game's not going to stop tampering.
Yeah, that part I agree with. I personally don't care that they are canceling spring games. Had I like in school when I worked for the football team, I had to be at the spring game. We had to film stuff for it. I've not gone to a BSU spring game since I graduated. They're just not interesting to me. And I think it comes from kind of knowing what they are, like kind of seeing what they are, if that makes sense, and knowing like I think the outside fan thinks they're going to see a bunch of stuff in the spring game, and
They're running a
you're
script.
yeah, they're running a script. It's going to be a few periods of like some like different drills and stuff like that, and then they're going to do like a quasi game, but it's like you're not really seeing too much because you really don't want to be going too hard in spring and have someone blow out their ACL or like injuries in football can happen when you're least expecting them. So you don't want somebody to get hurt in a spring game. Like it's spring practices and stuff are great and necessary for the teams themselves. I don't necessarily think like I'm missing anything, but if BSU were to
Here's
cancel their spring game, I'd be like, oh, okay, like
here's
that's
what I think.
fine.
I think what you're going to see teams start doing. I think canceling the spring game is like a little bit of an overreaction. I think if you're worried about spring game people getting poached, I think if you're worried about people getting poached that late into your process, I don't think you I don't think you ever truly had a good grasp of your roster. Like if you're just like, oh my gosh, our starting wide receiver who I thought was fine is just going after the spring game, then you didn't really know that person. What I could see start happening, and if I was a coach, I would do is I think you're gonna start seeing less and less like uh, televised spring games. You're gonna see less and less like film of the spring game. I mean, shoot, even BSU, they don't let anyone else film the spring game except for themselves and some sideline reporters. And
Right.
I wouldn't I wouldn't lie to you. I think that you're just going to see that become more the standard across the country. I think that the days of being able to watch like remember those 2 weeks in the spring where like you can watch Alabama play on ESPN2 their spring game, the Notre Dame, you know, they were all like spring game was always on like VS, like the NBC like weird account. And I just think you're gonna start seeing less of that. But I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction to cancel spring games, and I think
Yeah, people are gonna. You're never gonna get tampering out of. It's just not. First off, there's no way to, unless, and this is where like I don't think people go from point A to point B. Like let's say, for example, we were coaching, right? And there's someone we wanted, and I called him and was quote unquote tampering, like, oh, if you come here, we can offer you this, this, and this. And that player recorded that phone call, right?
Mhm.
Would I get in trouble? Yeah, we would. There might be some NCAA stuff that goes on. That player, though, like, you're crazy if you don't think other coaches would look at that and be like, why was he recording what a coach calling him, like what they were saying? It would, not that they, might not think, oh, like he was just trying to prove he was tampering or something, but it would put a little bit of, you'd like throw some blockers up, I think. At least I would personally. If I was a coach on his staff, I would be like, sometimes you don't want stuff record like, and I'm not saying that like they're like abusing kids or anything like that, but there's sometimes hard truths that you have to tell players that you don't want the public to hear. Really, more so for the player because it's not a, nice situation for lack of a better term. Like, you have to tell guys, hey, like you're not going to play here, so you should probably transfer. Like we're going with this guy as our starter, stuff like that. So that's why I don't think it'll ever get, unless you now, I guess maybe if you announce something, it was like, oh, you're suspended for a year if you get caught tampering. But then you have to define,
what it is.
what is tampering a player calling another player and being like, hey, like you should come here. Like the
Or
coaches said we need a
can I call a
receiver.
player's brother, like, and be
Right.
like, "Hey, we got a really good school. I'm just telling you this not because he's related to you and you could possibly relay information." But no, I agree. And it's the reason why schools have closed practices. It's the reason why schools, they only open up the media sometimes to like the beginning of practice, and then when they do team drills, they kick everyone out. Um,
And there's
you know,
there's also multiple, like I understand that there's a scrimmage in spring. There's also usually a couple scrimmages in fall that are way more
mhm.
important. Like if a guy if a guy got injured at the end of last season, he's not going to do much in spring. Even if like the timeline says like, oh, let's say you get hurt in November, right? Like you get hurt in November, you're out for the rest of the year. They say like, oh, you should be full go by spring ball. As a coach, I personally would be like, all right, I understand you're full go. We know you're good. We don't need you to be, going full bore in spring practice when in 6 months' time we'll start fall camp, and that's when we really need to like get the ball rolling. Like there is such a gap between spring and when the season starts that's what I guess what I'm saying is I don't think they should cancel them. I think they're fine to have, and like you said, people are going to tamper anyways. But some of the people who are like getting like greatly upset. I'm like, oh, like I get you just like you love your team and you want to see like maybe some freshmen that came in early or this transfer, that transfer, whatever it is, but you're just not missing out on. I get
No,
like what you think you are.
yeah, I think like people are. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say about it is I think mainly the people who are upset about it are upset about like you said, the event. Like because the game itself is not the most exciting thing. They're upset that they can't go to the stadium in April and hang out with their buddies and maybe tailgate. Maybe go out after the stadium like they would a game day and hang out with their buddies at the bar across the street. I think all of that is a valid reason for the people who are like, man, I was really hoping to see the strong safety battle this year. The two positions wide open. It's like
Right.
no, like sorry, no.
And
But
I should have said before I started my rant on spring games that there was a spring game I had to work one time that it downed for the entire time, and I thought I was going to get pneumonia because I kid you not, Diego, you could not see the field from the camera. I was filming on the sideline and you could not see the field. It was raining so hard, and I was like, "What are?" I have a itch to scratch with spring football because I've showed up before, and then they were just like, "Oh, we're actually canceling the practice today and we're going to go to Cracker Barrel, something like that, and get everyone breakfast." And then I didn't get the invite. And I was like, so you made me get up at 5 a.m. and come all the way down here. And I get ready to start filming. And then I see all the players celebrating and run off the field. And you're like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you. So I have issues with, I'm a spring hater when it comes to football.
that's fire. But you know what? I don't hate Zooch. I don't hate the list. Is one of my favorites. I mean,
Oh,
this
yep.
has just been a great segment. It's been a great segment. The list, as always, like I'm not gonna lie, like the Burnerverse, it's just become a little mainstream. Okay, so from now on, I will be referring to it as the BV because if you don't, if I have to explain to you what it is, it's just not in it. I've been reading some stuff, the whole Mary Kate situation. It's just not.
That got
It's a
out of
weird
hand quick.
and it's a
Quick.
weird thing, and it was a weird thing to talk about. Like I don't know. Because that's all I'll say about that. We're not gonna even go there with the Mary Kate jokes because we have true BV heat and tweets that are awesome. As always, this is the list where we find awesome tweets. We don't support, though we don't condemn these tweets. They're somewhere in the middle. We are just reporters reporting to you guys what the tweets that we see and why we enjoy the Everything app. Mainly only because I enjoy it because I've tailored my algorithm to cut out a lot of the BS. Unfortunately, is just straight.
You have to these days.
You have to. You have to. I have so many accounts muted on the X. It's like I don't care. Oh my gosh, the politics on that app has just been warped. Oh, well, Zooch, you're going to have to go first. This is the first time in Settle Down history that someone has had a brain fart so bad trying to pull up their tweets that their iPhone is now unavailable for a minute. So, Zooch, you are up first.
So I will start. I have a few. My first one comes from Karen McGee, who I've seen a lot of his or her tweets. We don't know who is behind this account. I don't believe that the woman in the profile picture is actually them. But Pro Football Focus College tweeted a video of the combine, and it says Arkansas DL Landon Jackson jumped 40.5, had a 40.5 vertical at 6'6", 270 pounds. And this person quote tweeted it, and I believe they're an Arkansas fan. I think. Oh, maybe Nebraska, and the link in their profile is to burnerverse.com, which I didn't know was a thing, and I'm going to have to check that out now, burnerverse.com. But she said, athletes with alpaca flock to Arkansas like Polynesians to Oregon. List.
Alopecia?
Alopecia, yes.
Oh, no.
And it's this guy.
Oh, man. That's just terrible.
Mean.
That's terrible.
And then I have Kansas football tweeted, the first seat has been installed in the boot, so I'm guessing they're doing some add-ons to their stadium. And this guy tweeted, "Sorry, but that little bar ain't holding those Kansas girls."
Oh, that was one of mine. That was one of mine by Forrest Feinbaum. Fired BV name. Forrest Fine.
Wait, is he?
It
This
just
might
says,
actually be him because he called into the Feinbaum show from Missouri.
oh my gosh,
So,
been a Tiger fan since '59. Oven cleaner for 20 years. Mall Santa for 10 years. 6 consecutive Express Liquor Customer of the Year. No, this is, if this guy's real, this guy is insane. Oh my goodness, this is hilarious.
and speaking of the Mary Kate, a lot of those tweets have gotten deleted because I think some people are like, we have taken this way too far. But and then where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, you know what? Actually, this one was on TikTok, and it was, so you know how like in the combine, like the last person to do that drill where you like kind of run back and forth and are catching the football. When the last person does it, like everyone else who's at the combine runs with them.
Yes.
Well, it was the running backs doing that, and somebody commented, "I can tell you right now that Cam Scatterbo is in the very last spot." Like, okay, we know what you mean there. There are some other ones that Cam Scatterbo was mentioned, and we will not repeat those on here because it took things incredibly too far. But the Burnerverse is about to heat back up with college basketball. There are some
Big
people in
East
the
Twitter. Big East Twitter, man. People are about to feel the wrath of Big East Twitter. But no, Zooch, I got a couple. I have 2, and actually, I had 3, and one of them was the Forrest Feinbaum tweet. But the first one, actually, there was something big that happened this weekend. John Cena turned heel.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. John Cena is a bad guy now. The first one,
Baker Banter, if you need us, we are here for you.
Yes,
you have not posted since that moment.
He has not, and it's actually getting quite worrisome for Baker. But the first one comes from @WrestleClips, and it says, "Heel John Cena to a random Make-A-Wish kid." And it is just the video of Brock Lesnar throwing someone down a flight of stairs in a wheelchair.
It was yeah, I have one, I forgot about it. If it's
I
not on yours.
have it might be this one, Zooch, and this is where I have to reiterate, like, we do not write these tweets. We chuckle because there's humor in it, but like, we do not write these tweets. And it's by @Michael Rainey, and he tweeted, "The John Cena heel turn is a government psyop designed to radicalize the special needs community."
Okay. Yeah, that's you know, just wrestling mixing into the Burnerverse needs to, I saw, speaking of that,
It's like Shane Gillis.
Yeah, well, and I don't remember who I sent it to. I believe I sent it to y'all, but we send a lot of stuff to each other, so I couldn't find it just now. The person who said that after John Cena turned into a bad guy said all the Make-A-Wish kids that John Cena helped just turned into dust, Thanos style. That was a good one too.
That is good.
And I have to admit, I was watching it live. I was like, oh shit, Elimination Chamber's on tonight. I'm kind of just sitting around hanging out with the dogs. I'll throw it on. And I threw it on like kind of right when that match started. I was like, oh, I'll see like what's going on with this. John Cena will probably win. Didn't expect that. It was really cool. The crowd reactions are some of the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. The videos of the kids crying on TikTok it's just funny. You just like see those kids just, you remember being a kid like that and not fully understanding that it is a scripted TV show and hating certain people. That's why we just need to know. It doesn't have to be your reaction, Baker Banter, but we need to know you're okay because if all I'm saying is if Roman Reigns had been there instead of The Rock, that would not have been good for Baker because I've seen some videos of him in regards to Roman Reigns, and let's just say he is not a fan. He is probably his biggest hater.
Yeah, no, I mean Baker. I don't think he's ever. It's been about 5 days since he's posted. It's been a while since he's gone 5 days without posting. He might be done with WWE forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, like but yeah, like you said, like Baker, just make a video, even if it's like a branded post, like it's like a DoorDash or like a Raising Cane's, like one of those like weird like ads, just like do something to show the people you're okay, Baker. Or Derek.
Yep, he put his predictions on there, and we have not heard from him since. So he was already dealing with the Chiefs loss. He was not happy when that happened, but we're here for you if you need it.
We are. And you know what I'm here for, Zooch? We are almost at the end of our show. We are doing the blind rankings again. And Zooch, you are the ones who have brought the topic for the blind rankings today.
I have. So today we're doing head coaches who have been hired since 2010. And I didn't keep anybody on here who is still an active coach. I didn't keep anyone who, like Nick Saban's not on here, for example, because it's not like that. Like I don't like doing our blind rankings to where it's, we'll throw in an occasional if there's like a close one, maybe like Heisman winning quarterbacks or something where there's an argument. Like if, I didn't want to throw Nick Saban in there early and you'd be like, oh, obviously he's number one. And I didn't want to throw him in there late and you have to put him at 4 when you know he's number one. So are you ready for these?
Yes.
5
The
fellas?
only question I have, am I ranking them number 1 is the best coach out of these coaches you're about to name?
Yes. Like who you
And
would.
Number 5 is the worst coach that I would not least want coaching my team.
Yep, and I'm going to give you the team they were at because a couple of them were most of them were at different teams. So I'm going to give you.
So I get that version of that, and I get that
Yes.
version of that coach. Okay, I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay, so number 1 or the first coach is Gus Malzahn at Auburn.
I think he's a perfect 3. I really do. He's solid. He's able to beat Bama a couple times. Made a natty. Never seemed to like get the humongous win, but he was stacking up a bunch of great wins, not good wins.
Yeah.
He was stacking up great wins at Auburn.
Great.
He was the Saban killer.
Saban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I have him at 3. I think there's a couple of guys that are going to be better. Maybe I should have put him at 2, but I think 3 is a good guy spot for Gus Magoo.
Okay. Second coach, Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma.
I put Lincoln Riley at 4.
Lincoln Riley at 4. So Gus Malzahn 3.
No, yes, I will put Oklahoma Lincoln Riley at 4 because I want Auburn Gus Malzahn. I don't want this UCF version of Gus.
No UCF Gus.
I want the 2013 Kick 6 Gus Malzahn because you said it was anything. Sorry, Sooner Nation. Gus Malzahn has been closer to a national championship than Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
and with Oklahoma,
fair.
Lincoln Riley, guess what I know I will never have, which is going to, I think, allow me to get my program. Look, Lincoln Riley will get your program elite fast. Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley. You will be always in the national contention. You'll never have a defense. You will always be the bridesmaid, not the bride, with Oklahoma prime Lincoln Riley, because your defense won't be able to stop anyone. So Lincoln Riley at 4.
Okay. The third coach on this list, this is where I think it kind of gets pretty interesting. He has an interesting resume. Coach O at LSU.
Well, I want him. He does have an interesting resume. LSU Coach O. Man, I'm gonna get a lot of shit from people, but I'm gonna put him at 5.
5? I mean, if he hadn't had like the best team ever, then...
That's my mindset. It's he had the best team ever, and he had an offensive coordinator who's coaching in the NFL now, Joe Brady. Like
Yeah.
look, I like Coach O. Maybe he was maybe I ranked Gus Malzahn a little bit too high, but no, I'm not hating this so far.
Yeah,
So
no, I don't. I completely agree. I don't hate it
Coach
at
O,
all.
Coach O at 5. So I
Okay,
have my 1 and my 2 spot open still, which I love.
you love it. So the next coach, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame.
Oh, I don't like this. No. I mean he's 2, but I hate that.
You
I,
hate
I, I
Brian Kelly.
hate
So
that. I
you
hate
have
I
Kelly.
Kelly, Malzahn, Riley. Oh, I would probably, just as it stands now, bump Malzahn and Riley up 1, slide Kelly into that 4, just ahead of Coach O.
Or okay,
But
I like all those because I think
but
I mean, Gus Malzahn had some,
I think Gus Malzahn
especially
gets
looking.
overhated. I think he gets
I do
overhated. I think
too.
he's a good coach. I think Saban killer.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, he has done. And I understand that Gene Chizik won a national championship. Gus Malzahn is the best coach Auburn has had since like Pat Dye. Like I think he was better than Tommy Tupperville. I think he
So
was
so Gene
better than
Chizik
Gene
just
Chizik.
stood there like an idiot with his floppy haircut and like rode Cam Newton's behind the entire year. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
he
It's like if
also
you,
and didn't he also have a prime Will Muschamp coaching his defense?
I believe was that Will Muschamp that year? Will Muschamp has coached at like every. He
Yeah,
was at
SEC
Auburn at
school.
some point. I want to say he was either there or Texas at that time, but yeah, it was around that time that he did have. And Gus Malzahn was his offensive coordinator the Cam
Yeah.
Newton year. I know
Another
that for a
reason to
fact.
another reason to choose Malzahn.
So
All right. Who is my number 1
it
coach,
makes your
Zooch?
number one. Your number one head coach is Brian Harsin at Boise State.
Yes. That's why he was my coach. Heck yeah. If I want my team, hey, I will oh man, that's really bad. Harsin's a good coach. I'd have Harsin over This is weird. This is weird. I'd have Kelly over Coach O, Harsin over Kelly, but Coach O over Harsin in just like a circle.
So yeah, no, I like this one because they're all. I think you with any of those coaches, maybe outside of Coach O, even though out of all of them, he's the only one who won an out. It sounds weird. I know he's the only one who won a national championship, but I think you could make an argument for ranking those coaches anywhere from 1 to 5, like in any
I think
order you could possibly
even
make.
Lincoln Riley, like everything about his regular season play tells you he should be the number 1 pick. But it's almost like there's never the ceiling. With like the other coaches, it's like, oh, maybe they can bust through. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. It was fun to look at through some of the. Was like considering throwing like Chad Morris on there, but I was like, no, like that's an obvious. Like I didn't want to do the thing where like he gets thrown on there and you're like, oh, well, he's like if you throw
Chad
him in the
Morris,
beginning.
you have to do another one where it's like the silly version, because then you know which ones are coming. Like, kind of like how I did last week. It was just average quarterbacks since the year 2000.
Yeah, and that's kind of. I mean, I guess you would consider all those coaches. Coaching is such a weird. I know I was thinking about this. This is the last thing I'll say. We're getting close to an hour. It was a fast hour. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Outside of the NFL and college football, so I'm talking like baseball managers, NBA head coaches, NHL head coaches. Do you think those guys take that job knowing, unless you have like Steve Kerr type success, right? Steve Kerr, Pop are the two I think of in the NBA. Their NHL, I can think of like Mike Sullivan. Trying to think of anyone else in that. John Cooper with the Lightning. Do you think these coaches take those jobs knowing that you're probably getting fired, even if you win? Like let's say you win a World Series,
I mean, I
you
think
win a
every
Stanley
coach.
Cup, you win. I mean, and
I
I
mean,
was actually
you
when we
see it
do
in
the
football,
live,
dude. You see it in football too. But like, sorry, go for it. It's
I was
crazy.
on our next live. I was going to kind of get everyone's opinion on this, and I only did it so far for the NHL. But if you go back up until, and granted, they're still active, John Cooper and Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan has 2 Stanley Cups. John Cooper has 2 Stanley Cups. But if you go, the last coach, non-active coach, to not get fired by his team, even though he won a Stanley Cup, was Scotty Bowman in 2002 with the Red Wings. Like if you go, like you look at it, and like there, I'm not talking about like obviously Paul Maurice won last year with Florida. I'm like looking in like long form terms, right? Like if you take a job and you, like let's say you win the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl, really any of them, like in your second or third year, and you like in the next 3 or 4 years, I think college football is a little bit different, and the NFL, like Mike
But even
Tomlin's
in the
still been there.
but even in the NFL, I think the NFL is a little bit more like, I think pro sports, the demand to win now is bigger. In college, you can kind of like almost like Harson did. Like you can create an environment where you are very successful and everyone around you is successful because we've talked about it before. The goal sometimes with these programs, like, is not to win the national championship. Like if you can win your conference and win a New Year's Six bowl game, that's the perfect year you can have. And the pros, it's different. It is win the championship or bust every single year. Or if you're a
Yeah,
school like, let's say, if Washington State ever becomes really good, Washington State, if they make the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, maybe make a championship one time in that time. They don't even have to win it, and that guy could literally like become the mayor of Pullman for life.
yeah, exactly. And I was just, and I don't remember what even made me start thinking about it. I think I was just like sitting around. I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing to me because like even like guys with recent success have, you know, been fired relatively quick. Like I think like Daryl Sutter, he won 2 Stanley Cups. If you like really think about it, he won a Stanley Cup in 2012, one in 2014, and had one or two Western Conference Finals appearances, and got fired from the Kings like 2 or 3 years, I believe, after that second Stanley Cup. And you just like,
Mm-hmm.
the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, like the freaking whoever the coach was when the Lakers won in the bubble, he got fired. The
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Raptors fired.
Frank Vogel. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
the Raptors fired their head coach.
The Bucks fired
Not
their
too
head
long.
coach, Budenholzer.
Yeah, so I just started thinking about it. I was like, it really doesn't. And that's all I was saying. Like, do you think they know they're going to get fired? Because not, you don't like 100% know.
I
Like, I think
think
obviously you go into it thinking like, I want to win
I think they
a
know the
bunch of
profession
titles. Yeah.
I think
So
they
it's
know the
a,
profession they got into, and like they know it's volatile. I think when they're a head coach and they're winning, they don't think they're going to get fired. I think that always blindsides someone. But I think deep down they know the profession they got into, and they know that head coach with the big bucks comes the big responsibilities.
yeah, it's a very interesting, and I really want to look at the NFL one because that one's going to be real. And like, obviously, like Andy Reid's not going to get fired. I There's no chance he gets fired anytime soon, even if they were like bad next year, the next couple years. But I mean, shit, Nick Sirianni was like on the hot seat
I
coming in
know.
to this year and was just at it. Like, granted, they didn't win, but he was on the hot seat because of the end to the 2023-2024 season, in which they still made the playoffs. Like, yeah, I understand it kind of went off the rails. Uh, but yeah, it's just a very interesting thing that I'm going to put some work into, like looking at which coaches have won a title, and I'm going to kind of get an average, I guess, is how I'm going to do it. Of all right, Coach A won a title this year, and normally guys who have two aren't on this list that I have in my head. Like I said, the Pops, like Steve Kerr isn't going to be on that list. Andy Reid. And I couldn't remember off the top of my head, did Belichick get fired or did he resign?
I think it was mutually parted ways.
But it was
AKA,
we're not, yeah.
We
So no, it's a very interesting thing that I'm going to cook up. So people, next time we do our live, I would like to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm just thinking about, and I don't know the exact timelines, but just thinking about certain coaches who have won and when they weren't at that team anymore. I really want to say a title buys you about 3 or 4 years. And I understand that sometimes I think there's different ways to win a title, I guess. Mainly football's a little bit different to me, and kind of basketball, but hockey, I guess, and baseball, and I would say basketball too. You see a lot of teams going all in and probably knowing they have a couple guys on that roster that they might have gotten at the deadline that they're not going to be able to re-sign. They're like, we're not going to have the money to re-sign this guy next year. So I'm going to kind of look at that too and be like, did this coach get a little more leeway because this team went all in, kind of knowing that they couldn't afford some of their free agents coming up, and he was brought in to win a title, but also to kind of rebuild the franchise. So it's going to be
no, it definitely will be interesting.
And I guess so. Our next show will be in a couple weeks, and it'll be
right before Vegas. It'll be right before Vegas.
So
this show,
yeah, maybe I might help Sean that night in getting it all clipped up so we can have it released Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Oh.
So we can get out the kind of like our picks and stuff for the tournament, because he'll be staying at my house because we have to be at the airport at 4 a.m.
Your sleepover? Sorry.
Yeah. Sleepover. Now we call it slumber party. That's what Cody calls it.
Yeah, worse that the slumber.
So I might see if he wants to work on that and get it out so we have it, because I want it to be out Thursday, and I'm gonna really work Wednesday night on getting some clips out so we get as many people as possible for this settle down bracket and $50 on roulette or blackjack.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it a little bit more, if you do blackjack, the one difference in blackjack and roulette is you will have to trust me and the fellas on if we hit or stay. So maybe you want roulette.
But that's up to the person. That's where this strategy comes in. But no, it'll be a huge blast. We will be posting pretty much starting whenever this episode releases until March Madness about that bracket challenge. And seriously, have everyone sign up. We're trying to break the amount of people we had last year. Last year's usual, we had somewhere in the 50s.
I believe so. Yeah.
The amount of people we're gonna try to get that number in the 60s, 70s, 80s this year.
Yeah, you're filling out a bracket anyway. So just if you see this, tell a couple of your friends to do it. Be like, hey, just throw your freaking ESPN account 700,000 numbers after that
into a Google form. It takes it'll take 2 seconds to fill out the Google form. Half of you are probably already following. If you're not, it's an Instagram follow. Follow us. Check us out. We're not asking you to sign up for something crazy, but we're excited. We're really, really excited. So
it's a great time of the year. It is great time of the year.
Zooch, anything else?
Nothing else. We'll be good next week. Or I was thinking of weekly shows. We might come in and maybe I'll throw a kind of how I feel about BSU's chances for our BSU listeners on if we like don't win the Mountain West and we're kind of waiting on that at-large thing,
hmm
maybe I'll kind of throw something in there to kind of. We usually have quite a few Boise people who join the bracket thing. It's
hmm
kind of easy to spread word of mouth here. And then I believe on our last show before the tournament that Sean and Cody will both be on as
Be
well.
talking. Well, that'll be our tournament pick shows. So that's what you guys will have to look forward to. Is that all of our official picks will be in? Barring unless if Boise's in that first 4-game Wednesday night or Tuesday night when we record, that could change what I do. But nevertheless, that was an awesome show, and we will see you in 2 weeks.